Hi everyone, we are at Stardome Planetarium and Observatory. We're ready to see some really great spacesuits and see some virtual stars. Let's head in. Stardome isn't open to the public during the day right now, only in the evenings where they're doing their shows. But when I come back tomorrow, I will have my tickets booked and ready to go. When I come in, I have two options for contact tracing. I can use the government app and use a QR code, or I can sign in manually and write down my contact details. In preparation for tomorrow, the Stardome team are laying out social distancing stickers on the floor. Here's a Lego version of the International Space Station in 1990. It's a touchable object. We can pull the lever, but afterwards they provide some biodegradable wet wipes which we can use to wipe down the surface and make sure that it's clean for the next person. This is a set of interactives called Space Tracker. These aren't going to be available to the public when they open.
So exciting to be open again. I didn't quite realise how great it would feel when we finally just everyone coming back together again as sort of kaimahi and staff, just being with each other, and but really weird because it almost felt like we hadn't been apart from each other all that time. So yeah, just making the decision on when to open obviously was a really big one. Didn't want to rush it at all, and we just wanted to ensure that we could really ensure not only our manuhiri, our visitors' safety, but also our kaimahi, our own staff as well. And I just wanted to check in and see how everyone felt. You know, everyone, you never know who's vulnerable and, you know, who has extended family that are vulnerable. It was a big deal to lock down, so it's a big deal to come out of lockdown as well. So as I said, we just didn't want to rush into it. So we just took our time, made sure that we were really clear and what we needed to do, what our obligations were, and also just ensuring that we could get the right messaging out to our visitors, that you're safe to come here, and that we will manaki you, we will look after you when you come here and ensure that you're going to be safe with us and be able to enjoy the planetarium again.
What does opening day look like tomorrow?
Well, not sure yet. So we open tomorrow night. Our daytime is normally filled up with schools, and because when our school groups come, we're quite a small facility. When our school groups come, they have the run of the place. So we've closed to members of the public during the daytime, and we're just wanting to welcome back our schools to start with. A lot of organisations are the opposite, where but we decided to prioritise our school visitors through this time as well. And then in the evenings is our general public. We usually have walk-ins. People will just turn up, but we've asked people to ensure that they're able to book. And normally it's just a bit of a, we don't allocate seating. We let people come in and choose their own seats. So now we're getting people's bookings and we're allocating seats and ensuring that we have this distance between people while when they come back into the planetarium, and just so that all of our messaging, all of our hygiene procedures are in place, and not just that we know we're doing the right thing, but also so our visitors can see that we're doing the right thing, and that we're a responsible facility.
Schools have just started returning here in New Zealand. What is that looking like for Stardome and visitation from them?
I checked in this morning. I'm a little bit, I'm just sort of testing the water, because I think a lot of schools, there's two things going on. One, what's their comfort level and their parents' comfort level with getting all the kids in a bus and bringing them out here, etc., etc. And the other thing is they have, I don't know, some schools probably have a lot of catch up to do, so I don't know how prioritised field trips are. But one of the key reasons for us at Stardome is that we have a pretty significant event happening over the next month, which is Matariki, which is the sort of Māori, the beginning of the Māori calendar and the Māori New Year. So obviously it's Matariki are the Pleiades, known as the Pleiades stars in other parts of the world, and Subaru. But here obviously we want to be able to have people come in and experience our Matariki program. So that's one of our main drivers for it. I'm not sure what our visitation is going to be, but to be honest, one of the main reasons we're opening is actually not necessarily for visitation at the moment and for revenue, but it's really almost as a sign of just showing people that we're back to normal and we can be back to normal, and that we can share in particular Matariki. So I'm not sure, you know, how quickly schools will return, but we just want to be open and available for them as they come in. Matariki happens once a year, and we're usually packed during that time. So it was really important to me that we honour those obligations too, even if it's only a few schools and visitors that want to come back during that time.
And it's so beautiful to be able to share those stories, and so important as well.
Absolutely. And the other thing about Stardome is we're really blessed in our location. We are on a really significant Maunga mountain here, which is called Maunga Kia. And so part of it is also around one of our obligations here is to uphold the mana, or the it's hard to find a good translation for the word mana, uphold the mana of the Maunga, the dignity, the authority, the grounding of the Maunga. So again, we sort of see that as a big part of that, bringing activity back, and particularly when it's activity which is centred around Matariki. So there's a lot of really important sort of symbolism, and we just want to warm up the building and warm up the Maunga as well, and start to heal everything and have things come back to normal again.
Oh, fantastic. And we are today sitting in the beautiful theatre here in Stardome, and you talked really briefly about the physical distancing that you're doing here, but what about cleaning considerations?
Absolutely. We've upgraded to hospital grade cleaner while we're here, and we actually are really lucky in that our cleaner used to be a nurse. He used to be quite a senior nurse, so he's all over it. And so we are cleaning regularly, we're cleaning between people, we're wiping down. We're also ensuring we're using disposable wipes rather than obviously reused cloths. We have a lot of hand sanitizer. All of us are sick to death at hand sanitizer, I'm sure, but we've become very well schooled in it, and we're also encouraging people to wash their hands frequently as well. That goes for our staff as well, that they're washing their hands really frequently. They're very conscious of what they touch and when they touch, and obviously we have contact tracing measures in place as well to make sure that that we're able to contact our visitors should we need to.
And could you tell us a little bit more about the theatre seating and what considerations you've had to think through around that?
Sure thing. Well, you can see here, this is it's slightly more than a metre, but one seat isn't a metre by itself. So we've people can come in groups and they can sit together, but between groups we need a spacing of 2 seats. There is we're just going to see how bookings go. At this point, what we're doing is seating everyone in every second row. Our capacity is usually 87, so obviously that's at least halved during the level 2 and possibly during level 1 as well. We'll just see when we get to that particular level. And so it does reduce our capacity, but as I mentioned before, really it's around just being open and is more important than necessarily what our numbers are at the moment. It's just being able to return some normality to people. So yeah, 2 seats between people. At this stage we're setting everyone 2 rows apart, but it's sort of just a metre between seats. So if we do get large numbers in, we can sit people behind each other and in front of each other as well.
You've got some beautiful exhibitions outside where people can learn about space and what's going on and what you do here. Is any of that closed or still open to the public?
We've got one section which is really high touch, so unfortunately we're taking a cautious approach. So we've just the good thing is it's quite easy to cordon off that particular area, and the other thing is our visitors understand, you know, we've been, as our Prime Minister keeps saying, we've been a team of 5 million, and I think there is a sense of solidarity in Aotearoa at the moment, and people get it, people understand that, not for right now, but we'll see how we go over the sort of coming months really.
All throughout lockdown, Stardome were putting out some very fantastic resources for different age groups as well, and doing quite a lot of online engagement.
There was a lot actually, and we really upped our social media game during that time. Our Instagram account, well, the other thing, a lot of our staff had nothing to do, because a lot of our front of house staff, they didn't have staff. So we set out a couple of challenges to our staff, and because of course a couple of things happened during lockdown. One was May the 4th, and so we set out a bit of a challenge to all of our, and if anyone saw our Facebook page, we had some quite hilarious entries where people had to recreate a scene from any of the Star Wars movies from May the 4th. It was quite interesting seeing what people had in their own homes available. Lots of people had lightsabers, interestingly enough. And we also set a challenge for our staff of recreating the solar system using whatever they had available to hand. One of our staff members was absolutely amazing. She created the solar system. I can't even describe it. It was in sequins and across a sweater that she had, and it was just absolutely extraordinary. So we set a couple of little fun challenges, and we threw those out to our online audience as well. We got a couple of pickups of that. People really enjoyed it, and we also had all of our resources available around space and the universe, and people were really engaged. A lot of people had a huge sense of humour during the lockdown, because everybody was in the same boat. So we had a lot of fun actually on social during the lockdown. It's really invigorated quite a bit of our social media, so we're keeping that up as we go through now too.
So people are having to book in advance to come to Stardome now. Is that different to what people are used to before they visit?
Yeah, we usually have a mix of people who pre-book. We always have pre-booking available, but a lot of visitors, and I think it's a very New Zealand thing as well, we don't tend to pre-book, we just tend to turn up because, and just assume there's going to be a seat available. So we're really pushing that with our, people will still check online, because we can see that in our traffic, but then they'll just decide, I won't book, I'll just turn up. So we're encouraging visitors very, very strongly that they need to pre-book their tickets when they come through. So yeah, that is a big change, and that of course includes contact tracing detail as well. But we've given people options. We are allowing people to use the government's QR code, use the app, which is accessed via a QR code, but we're also giving people the option of manually writing down their contact tracing details as well as they come through. The other thing that's quite good about them pre-booking is it gives us an idea of how many visitors we're going to get. So the reason why we're asking for pre-books is really so we can plan out the seating and arrange everybody in groups so that we're able to keep a safe distance between everybody. And as well as that, it means that we can know how we need to manage the group of people as they come through. Obviously, it's not just sitting in the space, but it's getting people in through the doors and then getting people out through the doors as well. So we've separated off a couple of our shows to give us an extra half an hour between them, just so we can ensure that we have people exited safely, so that they're not brushing up against people as the next session arrives.
And you have a beautiful telescope here at Stardome.
We do.
And is that in action at the moment?
Sadly, no. There's a couple of things. It's a Zeiss, and it's absolutely incredible. It was installed here in 1967. It's a glorious, the most romantic piece of equipment in the whole place. I just love it. But because two things really, people's eyes on the eyepiece, we just can't. It just doesn't feel safe for us at the moment to operate that, but also the space itself is very confined, so we just want to give the telescope some more space to breathe. We also have a research telescope, but thankfully that work can be done remotely, so that work can carry on. We also normally get a series of smaller telescopes out for visitors to have a look through again, and really it's just because of the eyepieces we just have decided to keep things, and they can be high touch, and so we've just left it for the time being. But hopefully we'll get to level 1 fairly soon, and we'll be able to open it back up again.
The planetarium show times, have they changed, or has the schedule changed?
Yeah, so we did change the schedule ever so slightly. We wanted to, and it was so that we can, at the moment we often have people exiting as the next group move in, and we needed to put a bit more space between that so that we could keep everyone safe and not sort of blow capacity. So what we've done is we've changed the schedules. Normally there'd be one at 7 p.m. and the next one would be at 8 p.m. We've actually changed that, so the second show is at 8:30 p.m. just to give us that little buffer between everyone. There's a few things that few of our activities as well we've had to be really careful about. Serving food and drink at the moment is quite a big one. So during level 2 we have anything that's high touch and high mouth is is potentially a risk. So we aren't serving food and drink at the moment as well. So a couple of our programs have had to change. Normally on a Tuesday night we would do wine, cheese and astronomy. Just astronomy for the foreseeable future, and we also often we have birthday parties that come here as well. Obviously we can't guarantee safety of those at the moment, so we're just keeping those on hold while we move through the next levels.
And what changes did you need to make from business as usual?
Yeah, well, first of all, getting everyone on Zoom. Some people had used Zoom a lot and other people had never used it before, so I was really proud actually to see by the end of it just how au fait everybody was. We've got quite a sort of diverse staff in terms of the age range and technical capability, so it was pretty cool to see everyone just embrace it, but not only embrace it, just feel really comfortable having Zoom conversations, because a lot of people prefer obviously in the flesh, kanohi ki te kanohi, face to face, but I think everyone kind of flipped into it, and it just their comfort level with working through Zoom or Teams or any sort of online communication really upskilled everybody. In terms of coming back to work, I gave everyone the option, we staggered people's arrival on the first day to ensure that we could keep a decent distance between everyone. We moved a few people around. Some of our offices were quite small, so we needed to ensure that we moved everyone apart. Only some people were on laptops, other people were on phones during lockdown, so all of these things sort of came into consideration, and just ensuring if people preferred to work from home, they were still they could still work from home, particularly if they were vulnerable, if they were in their sort of over 60s group, or if they themselves were immune compromised, or they had people around them who were, and we've left that open as well. Interesting though, most people have wanted to come back to work and be around their colleagues, which is kind of great.
Tomorrow, and around setting visitor expectation and preparing your team for what will happen, what have your considerations been around that? Yeah,
that's the big one actually, because we can have all these procedures in place, but it's really easy for visitors to, when they become absorbed in whatever it is they're doing, for them to forget what the distances are and all the rest of it, because we're all coming out for the first time, so we're all new at moving around in level 2. So that's why for us it's really important that our staff are fully briefed, and that we've got and our staff know that it's our responsibility to remind visitors of, okay, this is how we're going to move through, this is the distance you need to keep between each other. So we've got quite a lot of staff on tomorrow. We'll probably have almost a 1-to-1 ratio at this stage, but we've got a lot of staff there so that we can ensure, because we just don't know quite how it's going to run yet, so we will just make sure there's plenty of us there, everyone, just to support visitors to be able to keep their distances and all the rest of it, just to count numbers, ensure that everybody knows the rules, because it is really confusing, and visitors are expecting us to know what the rules are. They're not expecting to be the ones that know what the rules are to come to a planetarium and stay safe, so we're taking that responsibility really seriously and making sure that we just are messaging, and we're really vigilant with that as well.
For our friends around the world who are thinking about reopening and planning for reopening, whether planetariums or museums, what advice would you give them?
Don't rush into it. Start small if you're worried about crowds, etc., because it's so easy for it to blow out really, really quickly. So I would suggest take your time, make sure you're ready when you're ready to open, and that you're confident with it, and because ultimately it's your responsibility. You're the one responsible to your visitors, and so you need to be really ready to take that responsibility. So but also think about it not necessarily being around getting visitation back, but think of it really around your role as a member of the community, to as a facility in the community, to welcome everyone back in again, and provide that sort of comfort and that sense of normality again.
A big thank you to the Stardome team for having us today. It's so great to be able to see what you're doing for your planetarium shows and what's happening across the site in general. What a great day.